you know, you're talking about playing live, and you know, I'm gonna provide links in the comments section to, you know, I did with Xerxes as well, you know, of some live playing that Needlescrape did. Once again, I'll provide links below to see you in action. I personally own one of the Needlescrape albums, and I'm a fan. You know, I really am. You know, I got it from Xerxes. You know, Suicide Squad. I love that track. Helen and Impaler, another track I like.
I remember watching the interview. And
Yeah.
About that.
Yeah. You know, I know that. You know, from talking to both of you, I know, excuse me, you and Marlon kind of pushed each other.
Yeah.
Do you find it harder to record on your own?
Yeah, it is definitely different. I mean, it is a whole lot more work. I mean, obviously, I'm doing, you know, technically, if you want to look at Needlescrape was the 3-piece, I'm doing, you know, the work of 2 other guys plus myself in my own project, and I'm trying and definitely going with making it as best as I can. So I can't suck. You know, I can't just put something in there and say, well, I'm not really a bass player, so I'm just gonna, you know.
It's okay if it's mediocre.
Right,
yeah.
Right. It has to still be of quality, and the ideas still have to be acceptable, if not more than acceptable, to the art of that instrument. So if it's drums, at least the programming of drums and the rhythmic section of that, and then the bass playing and vocals. So, you know, as far as Mick and I pushing each other and being pushed in a situation by being in a band, that's definitely there, because in that situation, because you're really looking to, as you guys mentioned in the interview, was I had a preconceived idea about what I wanted my song to sound like that I wrote, and if it wasn't there by what somebody else was doing, I certainly spoke up about it.
Yeah.
And I think in the end, whether or not my idea was utilized or not, speaking up and getting in there and being nitpicky about that probably pushed myself to change something, and maybe push one of them to up their game on something as well.
Yeah.
Which isn't arrogant of me to say that I got somebody to, you know, up their game. They got me to up my game.
Yeah.
Especially a fantastic drummer like Mick, and a fantastic bass player like Mr. Newell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's just how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the way it typically happens. You know, like I too, on a smaller scale, I create all the instruments for the things I'm doing, and that's the way I've always done it. And it's, I can imagine it's very beneficial to have another ear to bounce, you know, things off of, you know, especially someone, you know, like a part of the sum, you know, that being, you know, Mick and you in the sum being Needlescrape.
Right.
You know, and it's funny, like, you know, once again, it's been mentioned a couple times, like, you know, there's this audio landscape that you're painting in your head, you know, and trying to, like you said, have another person play what you're thinking. You know, they can't physically get inside your head, so like you said, kind of like, you know, pushing them or nitpicking. Once again, it's no way arrogant. It's just, you know, music is one of those things that, you know, too often today it's too manufactured, and it's too, you know, they're using like the lowest common denominator just to sell, you know. A lot of the artistic value has gone out of it, and a lot of that has to do where, you know, things are you know, bands themselves are created instead of the music, you know. Usually it's a band that creates the music, not you know, executives creating the band to create the songs that were never created, to play the songs that were never created by the band that they put together.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you got the music scene is pretty much being dictated to by people who are writing it with an instrument that they just wanted to be able to play so they can write that and play that kind of music. And then, of course, when it blows up on the internet, and that becomes the music that becomes that genre.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really shapes and molds something all by itself, and it's only out there because, you know, somebody wanted to do something with an instrument so they can fit in with that genre, not necessarily do what works or you know what they really can do. They're just kind of they got seen first.
Yeah.
You know, they got seen before the other guy, or got more hits before the other person, so this becomes that.
Well, it's actually kind of a funny thing. It's like, you know, it's a double-edged sword because, you know, it does allow an opportunity for a lot of good musicians that
It does.
you know, it skips the middleman. It puts an artist directly in front of an audience. You know,
Right.
A millions strong audience. It does have that effect where, you know, in some parts where something just becomes popular because of the views. You know, which is the bad side of it. And then sometimes they're good. Sometimes there's that artist that isn't in the right place, you know, isn't able to show their talent to, you know, to the world, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's, I won't say it's easy, but it's easier for a person who lives in New York City or a person who lives in Los Angeles to get their music
Right.
heard than somebody that's, you know, in southwestern Pennsylvania, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, once again, I do agree with like the bad aspects of it, but it's also, you know, it'd be hypocritical of me to, not talk fondly because it is, you know, with anything you're gonna get the bad with the good and vice versa. Now, you know, going back to the project BrØke DØwn Satellite, you know, this is an album that you're working on.
Actually, it's a series of 3 albums.
Okay. Oh.
It's a concept project that will probably go into a 4th and 5th, but the first 3 albums are certainly linked together by the titles of the albums and the movement from each one to the next, its content, and what has inspired each one to be what it is.
So where you mentioned like first 3, where in the process are you?
Well, actually, I'm in production of the 3rd, which will be called Archetype, and the first one was Prototype.
Okay.
And what we're having here is the philosophies of the production line idea, which is a prototype, theory of forms, and then there's the archetype.
Gotcha.
So the first album, Prototype, was released once. I took it off the internet because I have a weird thing with music being out there too long. So I'll probably put it out again before the next release comes out. And then Theory of Forms was completed already as well, and that was out for a time. I released that in July of this year.
Okay.
And pulled that back. I'll be re-releasing it again, obviously. And then the 3rd album is Archetype, which I'm working on now. I just started recording the first song, which is called Star Explosion. And kind of working with that, with guitar sounds and seeing where I'm at. But usually once I get the first song out of the way, I kind of just steamroll through the other ones because I know how I want it to sound, so it sounds cohesive. One song to the next, technically, with guitar tones and stuff.
Is there these 3 albums? Is there? I mean, obviously they fit together. They're
right.
a series.
Mm-hmm.
Is there, you know, for each individual one, is there something that you brought unique that? Obviously, they're part of the same concept. Is there something definitive about each one that separates it in some sense?
Oh, absolutely. Well, the first one being Prototype. Obviously, it's fresh. It's new is what it is. It didn't come from a demo. It didn't start out as 30 other songs. And also lyrically, it's about 15 years or more prior to recording it.
Okay.
It's about all that. I guess what really separates from one to the next would be progression of my ability to play guitar,
Yeah.
my ability to produce, arrangements. Everything is the next step up from the other.
Yeah, yeah. That's that natural progression over time and practice,
Right,
and,
right.
and it's cool that you're kind of you're in a, it's like a virtual timeline that
Absolutely.
that is permanent. You know,
Right.
that's another wonderful thing about music is like that's a piece of you that is around. You know. For eternity, you know, more or less, you know, which is music in general. That's a beautiful thing about it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you had mentioned, you know, that you've released and took back the first two,
Right.
first two parts of this series. You know, are they going to be available again?
Well, of course. Yeah, definitely. They'll definitely be out sooner than later. Kind of to get some, you know, hype for the third release. You know, put those out, and then you know, if you dig them, then you know, you get to the third album, and they're all free downloads.
Okay.
You know, I wouldn't expect anybody to buy it. If it was one item and only one, then of course you would have to pay. But it's not one item. It's an unlimited amount of items that you download. So with that in mind, I just let you have it for free. Let you listen to it for free, streaming for free, all that kind of stuff.
That's awesome.